Tonight on the Worldview Report, a U.S. fighter jet fresh off the assembly line ends up in a fiery crash in New Mexico. We'll update you on the condition of the pilot. We have new information on why Joe Biden's Justice Department thought it needed to be ready to shoot to kill when it raided former President Donald Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago back in 2022. The reason will shock you. An angry mob used Molotov cocktails to set the Israeli embassy in Mexico City ablaze as Hamas-supporting protests intensify against Israel around the world. Europeans may soon be saying goodbye to the last vestiges of free speech, as the European Union has announced a new program that will make it possible to set up rapid response teams to combat so-called online disinformation. And Alan Dershowitz gives a chilling warning to America regarding the Trump trial. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brannon Howse. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brannon Howse.
Good evening and welcome to the Worldview Report. Obviously, the breaking news tonight is Donald Trump, former president of the United States, found guilty on all 34 counts. We will have extensive coverage on this tonight with a lot of special guests. We've now booked in Michael Reagan, Ronald Reagan's son, and many other guests to join us tonight to cover this in great detail and what it means for our country, what it means about our legal system, and politicizing our legal system going forward. Again, extensive coverage starting at approximately 7:30 Central Time tonight on Brannon Howse Live. Please let all your family and friends know about all the very special guests we will have joining us tonight as we give this the coverage it so rightly deserves. A brand new F-35 fighter jet worth $135 million crashed into a hillside Tuesday in New Mexico as it was leaving a Lockheed Martin facility and heading to an air base. Business Insider, they quoted local authorities reporting that an F-35B Lightning II jet crashed near the Albuquerque International Sunport, and its pilot has been seriously injured. Fire rescue teams responded to the crash just before 2 p.m. local time, and the pilot was sent to the hospital. That's what local Albuquerque Fire Rescue spokesman, Lieutenant Jason Fager, has reported. Watch this.
Fire suppression efforts. Battalion 1 arrived shortly thereafter, established unified command with Albuquerque Fire Rescue and Bernalillo County. We also got a response from Kirtland Fire, who sent 3 airport crash rescue trucks from on base, and they responded off base here to help extinguish this fire. The pilot was able to get out. That pilot was transported with serious injuries, and that has been since transported to the hospital. There was 2 other civilians on scene that were assessed and evaluated on scene. Neither of those resulted in transport. We're here on a university. We're just north of Rio Bravo, and the road's going to be shut down here for an extended time. Kirtland and the FAA will be taking over this investigation, so we're advising people to please avoid the area. Let this investigation run its course, and they'll get things back opened up as soon as possible. So to recap, we did have an aircraft go down. A pilot was able to escape and was transported to the hospital. Fire has been extinguished. They're in the process of cleaning up the scene and kind of mopping up any hot spots. And that's where we're at for now. As more information becomes available, it will be released. Thank you.
Joe Biden's Department of Justice is now trying to justify its shoot-to-kill order for the FBI to take out Donald Trump during the 2022 raid on Mar-a-Lago because Trump had a knife in the kitchen of his living quarters. Yeah, you heard that right. Last week, Judge Aileen Cannon unsealed the documents that proved that Biden told the FBI to feel free to kill the former president. They were afraid, apparently, of those deadly kitchen knives and forks and spoons when they burst into his house with machine guns and body armor. So I guess they had to be ready to shoot to kill a former president who could potentially be armed with forks and knives, kitchenware. Well, this is frankly mind-blowing, and it shows just how corrupt the DOJ and the FBI are under Joe Biden. An angry mob used Molotov cocktails on Wednesday to set the Israeli embassy in Mexico City ablaze as protests intensify against Israel's military operations in the Gaza city of Rafah. Watch this. According to reports, approximately 200 people joined protest for the urgent action for Rafah, as they're calling it. And this was all outside the Israeli embassy in Mexico City on Tuesday night and into Wednesday. Approximately 29 people were killed on Tuesday in 2 Israeli strikes on displacement camps in southern Gaza. What Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said was a result of a, quote, tragic mishap, end quote. Pro-Hamas groups throughout the United States, well, they are now openly calling for an intifada in every capital and city around the world, including in Israel. Of course, intifada means an uprising or a rebellion in Arabic. An organization calling itself the Gaza Group, they issued a statement declaring, quote, escalate protests to an open intifada in every capital and city in order to deprive the world of its heavy slumber that comes at the expense of the bodies and remains of those that survive. Disrupt all facets of daily life until our people can breathe freely without the taint of the Israeli, American, and European war machine, end quote. The call for action was reportedly shared and distributed by the Harvard Palestine Solidarity Committee, Princeton Students for Justice in Palestine, and Penn Students Against the Occupation, and Writers Against the War on Gaza. Meanwhile, the nation of Israel is on high alert for a fresh round of violence after a new attack by Hamas terrorists. All Israel News reports that several Hamas terrorists opened fire on Wednesday at the Israeli village of Bat Hefer from the West Bank, causing damage but no casualties. That's according to the Israel Defense Forces and Hamas spokesman. The terror group later released footage of the attack on social media, showing terrorists driving toward Bat Hefer from the area of the nearby city of Tulkarm. That's in Samaria. And they were wearing Hamas's trademark green headbands. After the 3 terrorists exited the car, the footage shows the village of Bat Hefer coming under attack. The 3 started shooting in the direction of the town. The IDF said that its forces scanned the area and, quote, are working to locate the terrorist, end quote. Later that day, suspicion arose that a similar attack had been carried out at the village of Gan Nir, which is also located in, well, the direct vicinity of the separation barrier between Israel and the West Bank. Of course, the West Bank is the derogatory term for Judea and Samaria. Well, residents, they alerted the IDF after hearing shots, and troops later found bullets in the area. One news service reports that military correspondents were warned that the publication of the attack's footage was the latest iteration of a worrying phenomenon of social media being used for terror. Harvard Law School professor emeritus Alan Dershowitz said Tuesday that a conviction in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial would weaponize the American justice system and change it forever. Alan Dershowitz, speaking on the podcast of Just the News, said, quote, if there's a conviction here, it will change the justice system forever. It will weaponize the system. It will mean that both sides will try to use the legal system as a way of winning elections, end quote. Of course, as all of you know, Donald Trump is accused of falsifying business records to cover up an alleged hush money payment involving Stormy Daniels. The trial for the hush money case, well, it formally began last month, making Donald Trump the first former president to stand trial for an alleged crime. And of course, the closing arguments for the trial began this week, and a verdict is expected in the coming days. It could be at any moment. And when it does, we'll break in and let you know. Allen, he told Just the News the following, quote, "If there's an acquittal, maybe at least we can say the jury system works. But if there's a conviction or even a hung jury, it will show that the prosecution benefits from bringing a case which is no crime at all," end quote. Dershowitz, who was in the New York courtroom, went on to criticize Judge Juan Merchant, who is overseeing the Trump case. The renowned defense attorney told Just the News, quote, "I don't know the reason, but it's obvious that he is not unbiased in this case. He wants a conviction," end quote. The Gateway Pundit posted a special feature on drone warfare that I'd like to bring to your attention. All over the world, the outlet reports that law enforcement agencies and military forces are going all in with unmanned flying vehicles, also called drones. And, well, they now have become the standard equipment to survey and even attack foes and invaders. From the forests of Eastern Europe to the American Western Mountains of Colorado, all we hear about now is drones, a weapon that is largely unregulated in the hands of police and yet has very deadly implications for citizens. In Europe's battlefields, drones, well, they have long been the ace in the hole for combatants, from small quadcopters to big deadly aircraft like the American Predator drone or the Russian Lancet drone or the Iranian Shahed. Now, as the war in Ukraine progresses, 6 NATO nations have agreed to build a so-called drone wall along their borders to defend themselves against what they see as Russian threats. The British news outlet, The Telegraph, they reported that Norway, Poland, and Finland will work with 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, to prevent Russian breaching of their borders. Lithuania's interior minister told broadcaster Baltic News Service, quote, "This is a completely new thing, a drone border from Norway to Poland. This will allow us to protect ourselves from provocation by unfriendly countries," end quote. The so-called drone wall, well, it's still being planned and negotiated, and the deal signed over the weekend is just part of a wider approach to countering, quote, "the threat from Russia," end quote. Quote, "We agreed to hold regional drills to ensure the evacuation of the population, to see how our institutions are prepared to work and to interact with each other," end quote. That's what the Lithuanian minister said. But here's the bottom line. This is it. Drone warfare, whether waged, well, among nations or by police against their own domestic populations, it appears to be here to stay. In fact, it's only now getting started. So be forewarned. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at WVWFoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at WVWFoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at WVWFoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. Welcome back from the break, and thank you for joining us tonight and every night. And thank you for remembering that we are brought to you by you. two ways you can support this free broadcast that we push out all over the world and let other outlets pick up free of charge as a broadcast service, educational service, and ministry broadcast of WVW Broadcast Network and WVW Foundation. Two ways you can support us in continuing this project. One is by making a contribution at WVWFoundation.com. You can do that online, WVWFoundation.com. Please support our foundation that helps us underwrite a lot of the cost of pushing out a free program for, well, as I said, educational and ministry purposes. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail, WVWFoundation.com. Another way you can support us is by joining our vault. We have archived over 20 years of radio shows, TV shows, documentaries, my books in ebook format, transcripts, and our 20 years of our Ozarks Worldview Weekends, all filmed broadcast quality with multiple cameras, all archived, 20 years worth, inside our vault at worldviewtube.com/vault. So many of those programs are really more relevant now than they've ever been before. I hope you'll check them out. worldviewtube.com/vault. Two ways to support the continuation of free programs just like this. Thank you. China has unveiled its brain-computer interface, rivaling Elon Musk's Neuralink. During a 2024 forum, Beijing Neurotechnology, they debuted their brain-computer interface implant called New Cyber. According to the Chinese official newspaper, the Global Times, the new brain implant has already been tested on primates, giving them the capability of controlling a robotic arm. Although the Chinese media has compared New Cyber to Musk's Neuralink, China's version of the technology has yet to be implanted into a human brain, as Neuralink has already been successfully done. The Gateway Pundit reported that Neuralink, they implanted a brain chip into quadriplegic Nolan Arbach, who uses Neuralink to control a computer cursor with his thoughts. Watch this.
So what can you show us that as a demonstration of what you can now do?
Here we go. This is the Link app. This is how I control everything. This is the app that they've uploaded onto my computer that lets me control the cursor. This is my devotional that I've been reading all the time, every day. And then this is me playing chess.
So wait a minute. You're moving the cursor. You're moving the cursor, Nolan, just by thinking about where you want it to go, or is it your eyes?
No, it's just me thinking about wherever I want it to go.
Oh, man. So yeah, you're not even tracing it with your eyes. You're just looking at it.
Nope. I can move it, and I can move the cursor around, whatever I would like to do. I don't have to be staring at it at all. I mean, it's amazing. There's not even words to describe. Yeah, there's not even words to describe how amazing this tech is.
In other news, LifeSite News reports that Melinda Gates is dedicating $1 billion in grants over the next 2 years to bolster what she calls women's reproductive rights. The funds will go to a number of groups and initiatives, but much of it will be to promote abortion. Melinda Gates' new initiative marks the beginning of her renewed philanthropic efforts, concentrating on abortion and pushing it to the forefront even after promoting abortion on a global scale with the Gates Foundation. The funds will be allocated to support a range of organizations such as the Center for Reproductive Rights, the 19th, and several others. Center for Reproductive Rights is one of the major pro-abortion groups that has spent decades fighting to eliminate all pro-life laws. Gates wrote in an article, quote, "Many years ago, I received this piece of advice. Set your own agenda, or someone else will set it for you. I've carried those words with me ever since. That's why next week I will leave the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, of which I was a co-founder almost 25 years ago, to open a new chapter in my philanthropy. To begin, I'm announcing $1 billion in new spending over the next 2 years for people and organizations working on behalf of women and families around the world, including on reproductive rights in the United States," end quote. Well, pro-abortion groups, they have received tens of millions of dollars from the Gates Foundation to promote family planning, as they call it, and so-called women's empowerment. Gates has granted over $94 million to Planned Parenthood alone. On May 25th, Pope Francis's inaugural World Children's Day featured a male performer who danced in drag for children. Carmen De Rosa, one of the official artists at the event, so-called artist, appeared in a, drag outfit along with some very suggestive cardboard costumes and danced in front of an audience of children in a pink dress with a plunging neckline and full makeup. De Rosa shared all of this on social media and stated, quote, "Today on stage at the Olympic Stadium in Rome for World Children's Day, announced by Pope Francis. What a great emotion," end quote. Well, Archbishop Vigano, he is, by the way, the Vatican's former diplomatic representative to the United States. He shared his concerns on X, writing, quote, "This is one of the characters called by the Argentine Jesuit." By the way, let me just stop there. He doesn't call him Pope. Have you guys noticed that? He doesn't call him Pope. He calls him the Argentine Jesuit. He's even referred to the smoke of Satan coming up out of the Vatican when this guy was picked. I mean, I really like watching Archbishop Vigano. But anyway, here's what he said, quote, "This is one of the characters called by the Argentine Jesuit as an entertainer at World Children's Day. It is now clear that Bergoglio," there he goes, he doesn't call him the Pope, "Bergoglio is one of the main activists of the hellish LGBTQ plus agenda. There are no more words to express the scandal and disgust in the complicit and cowardly silence of the episcopate. Whoever scandalizes even one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better for him if a millstone turned into a donkey's wheel or hung around his neck and he was cast into the depths of the sea," end quote. Of course, he's quoting out of the book of Matthew. Well, now it's time for our nightly Worldview Report commentary. ABC News reports that more than 4 million chickens in Iowa will have to be killed after a single case, one case of bird flu was detected at a large egg farm. That's what the state announced on Tuesday. Crews, well, they are in the process of killing 4.2 million chickens after the so-called disease was found at a farm in Sioux County, Iowa, making it the latest in a years-long outbreak that now is allegedly affecting dairy cattle as well. Last week, the virus was confirmed at an egg farm west of Minneapolis, Minnesota, leading to the slaughter of nearly 1.4 million chickens. Overall, 92.34 million birds have been killed since the outbreak, so-called outbreak, began in 2022. That's according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And it's not just happening here in America, folks. It looks like bird flu was already in Australia, where 400,000 chickens were recently slaughtered following a reported outbreak. In fact, here's a report from that country.
400,000 chickens have been killed in Victoria to halt the spread of bird flu. But the deadly disease has now been detected at a second farm in the state's southwest. Madeline Sparks reports.
Well, this investigation is underway at a second poultry farm in Victoria. This one is in the state's west in a town called Terang. It is connected to another poultry farm where a bird flu outbreak was identified on Wednesday. That one is in Meredith, and that is where the H7N3 strain of bird flu was first located. We have been given a statement that says the two farms are connected by way of joint management, staff and machinery, and we do know that Agriculture Victoria has clamped down on both properties, restricting the movement of vehicles, equipment and so on, really to limit the spread of this outbreak. We know that at the first farm to have the outbreak, the one at Meredith, around 400,000 birds had to be destroyed as a result of this. So authorities really don't want this to spread any further. But as for the risk to humans, well, this is what experts have had to say.
It is very safe. There is no evidence that avian influenza viruses can be contracted if you're eating properly cooked chicken. meat or eggs.
The investigation is still.
So yes, the bird flu is the next big pandemic, the one they have been referring to clandestinely as Disease X. It checks all the boxes of the globalist agenda, as I've been saying for weeks. It checks all the boxes, bird flu does, because it will put farmers out of business, destroying the meat supply, in not just poultry, but also, of course, in beef cattle. It'll also, well, be bye-bye to your supply of eggs and milk. In fact, they're already talking about the milk supply being potentially tainted because the pasteurization process, they tell us, is not foolproof in eliminating bird flu. So they're able to ratchet up fear. And of course, fear always results in more government overreach, including mass testing, quarantining restrictions on travel, and other activities, and ultimately another deadly mRNA vaccine. In fact, we reported in our previous show that a new bird flu vaccine has already been developed with government funding. How convenient and timely. So, if the globalists get their way, we're looking at potential worldwide famine. Dr. Peter McCullough said that on my show last week. They're going to use bird flu to create a food crisis, to create a lack of food, to destroy the food supply. So, not just worldwide famine, folks, but medical tyranny and another mass vaccination campaign. That's why we cannot give in to the fear. We cannot allow them to do this to us again. Resistance is really our best option in the face of this tyranny, don't you think? Well, that does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. As always, thank you for tuning in and supporting the broadcast. Folks, in 2016, I started the website WVWTVstore.com. 2016, offering up food supplies and emergency supplies. You might want to go there right now and buy up food. I have a 2-year supply of freeze-dried food. We have gluten-free, veggie, vegetables, fruit, meat, real meat, not synthetic meat. You might want to go there now, WVWTVstore.com. I would suggest you have at least 1 year supply of food. And of course, you can then supplement with other things as well. And again, we have other supplies there as well. WVWTVstore.com. Some of you are probably wondering, what is this? Go to the wide shot, please, Logan. What is that on his desk? Well, Logan put this up here because I want to tell you, I now own one of these. This is a solar generator. I've been looking for a few years for a solar generator. Now we have one, and we're pleased to announce that you can purchase one as well. We even have a custom URL with the company we're working with as a sponsor, worldviewtalk.com. At Worldview Talk, you not only can get a cell phone that won't track you and store your data, you can get a satellite phone. So if the power grid goes down, if cell towers go down, you can still communicate with that loved one, your spouse, your college student, your senior adult parents. So you'll find cell phones, satellite phones, but you'll also at worldviewtalk.com find solar power generators. Now look, we have a couple generators. I'm sure many of you have little gas generators. We have a Generac to keep the studio going. But if there's an interruption in natural gas or actual gasoline, what are you going to do? So I need a backup to my backup to my backup. So I also have a solar generator. That's the big solar panel that goes with it. Now, if you want to use the phone number on the screen, because I'm sure most of you are going to have questions. You're probably not just going to get online and order one. You're going to want to ask questions, right? So you can go to worldviewtalk.com for more details. Otherwise, please use the phone number on the screen. Call them, and you can ask all your questions of them, folks. And again, this is one of our sponsors that helps make this program possible. Between our foundation, our Worldview Vault, and our sponsors, it takes all of this, folks, to generate the massive budget to produce 24/7 television. So every month we have to see, did we meet our budgets? Can we keep going? I'm not kidding, folks. That's what it's like being an entrepreneur and running an organization. And many of you business owners know that. So it takes all of this just to keep us going, and everybody in the control room employed, and all the associate producers, graphic artists, IT guys, and everything else. So please use that website, Worldview Talk, or use that phone number on the screen if you want more information on a solar generator. Also, don't forget about Bella Grace. It's the daily elixir that Melissa and I take. Now, some of you say, I'd like to take this, but I don't want to have to pay for it. Of course, that's what some of you maybe are thinking. I'd love to get that for free. You know how you can do that? Go to melissahousebg.com and click the link on how to join our team. If you can just get a few people ordering this, you'll get yours for free. No joke. And some of you are already doing that. In fact, if you do a really good job promoting it, not only will you get your elixir free every month, some of you could turn this into a small little business and make $200, $300, $400, $500 extra dollars a month. I don't know about you, but $500 a month would be great to offset that grocery bill, right? So we're entrepreneurs here. Some of you are very entrepreneurial-like, right? So go to melissahousebg.com, find out how you can join our team and, well, make some extra money and get your elixir for free. Otherwise, you can just order it like Melissa and I do, and you can take it every day and see the benefits that you might receive. Again, there's about 80 clinical trials behind this. And then, of course, we have Numi.com/house1. This is loaded with glutathione that detoxes our cells, according to many, many studies. You should read up on glutathione. Then I think you should take this swish twice a day, like Melissa and I do. Numi.com/house1. All these ways, I think, are ways that you can support your health, your family, and us at the same time, so everybody's winning. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for watching. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.